Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pei.
And welcome. You're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports Radio Station, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Spreaker, and more. Why so many places? Because I want to maximize my splatter zone for more hope and happiness. So there's no gossip, no scandal, and no K words on this show. No Kanye talk now or formerly. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So I have topics and guests to that end, and today is no exception. Actually, we're going to welcome back someone you haven't seen in a bit. He's the co-host of my fabulous Thursday series called Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and
James Hawthorn. Good morning, everybody.
Welcome back, James. We're going to up your volume just a bit.
All right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, it's still a little soft, so we're having some sound hiccups. Can you raise your volume or sit closer?
Mine is all the way up.
There we go. That helped right there.
Great.
Don't want to lose any of that.
Great.
All right, and I'm gonna do. We haven't seen each other in almost a month. I think you were off doing some acting stuff, and then I went down to speak in San Diego, and so. But we're glad to have you back. But in case anybody's here for the first time, and I'm gonna run the quick story promo so we get more eyeballs in here now. I don't have an answering machine. I have a questioning machine. And when you call me, it says, who are you and what do you want? So, who are you and what do you want?
Yes.
Is that one on you?
I don't think you've used that one on me. Who am I?
Okay.
For those that are just tuning in, I guess for the first time, I am James Hawthorn. I've been out in LA for 14 years. I am a recovering corporate employee. And I moved out here to pursue acting and personal training. And I've been doing that for the last 14 years while dabbling in hosting and getting more into that. And this has been a great adventure. We've done probably, maybe 15 shows or so together, something close to that, maybe more. And it's great. It's a little bit of therapy for us as we delve into our dating lives. And it's a little bit of exploration as we tackle some of the toughest topics that make us scratch our heads and tickle our hearts when it comes to dating and relationships.
Absolutely. And I can't do it. Before we do our gratitude sandwich, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about the eye test. In other words, nonverbal communication in flirting, dating, and inside of committed relationships. What can we learn from each other's eye contact? What do we give off through our eyes? And how do we use that information to do better in our dating and relationship lives?
Sounds good. And this is a good way for us to catch up. I haven't talked to you since we went to the Dodgers game, which was super fun. Thank you. And he says he's taking me again for my birthday, so we'll have to figure that out. And gratitude sandwich. What are things that you're grateful for on top of the bun? We're taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich, just a little hashtag Blissipline Good Life Habit that probably 2 years I've been doing on the show. So now I make my co-host and my guests do it with me. So if you can think of things that are outside of yourself and our way to catch up that you're grateful for, top of the button, and then we'll go to what we are grateful for inside of us, which is appreciation. So I'll let you start it up.
I'm grateful for, I have some clients right now that are just terrific on the personal training side because they're doing their homework, they're getting great results, and it just makes my job so much more fulfilling and rewarding when I get to see the progress that they make. When clients don't do the homework, they don't make as much progress. And, you're left wondering, is it me? Is it them? So to have hardworking clients and to see them get the results that I know they're capable of, I'm really grateful for this chapter of my personal training life to be able to work with people like that are making the most of it.
Absolutely. I am grateful that I've had an amazing time getting my birthday celebrated. As you all already know, it came up like I had a race last night. We were trying to get a bullet for my birthday, and we passed 2 boats at the last leg of the race, and then literally was not even a half a boat length. We almost overtook first, almost, but it's okay. Second was good.
Now, you should tell people a little bit about this Wednesday ritual that you have, especially for the non-nautical folks. What exactly is going for a bullet?
Okay, that's a yes, especially since I'm all about peace and I'm talking about bullets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a bullet is a first place. They shoot the gun for the first place boat in every class of boats. So I've been racing for 34 years, and here in Echo, and we're gonna just turn this off and see if that helps. I've had a wonderful time just being out on the water. People know I'm allergic to hiking. I don't like dirt, but I am nature. I go out on the water nature and saw dolphins last night, of course, on my birthday race. And I've been racing for 34 seasons, and I have spent the last 20 years racing with the U.S. Sailing Center boat. And I'm the pit boss. My position is in the middle of the boat, which is the pit. And I help raise and lower all of the sails. So the mainsail, the front sail or jib, and then the pretty colorful one, which is called the spinnaker. So that's my job. It's
a bit of a workout too. Then you're rolling up your sleeves and getting after it.
Absolutely. Keeps me working my body. Although last night I came back and I was saying to somebody, I may think I'm ageless, and I look like I'm ageless, but my body is like, after the race yesterday, it was, what are you thinking? So in the recovery time, I always know that I'm not ageless in the morning after a race where, you got boat bites. That's called bruises. When you have bruises, they're called boat bites. And but I wouldn't give it up, because sailing with this particular organization, we get to take out kids from underserved communities and teach them how to race.
That's so cool.
During the race.
That's so cool.
So last week we got first place. We got a bullet, and that was in honor of our teammate who died suddenly. I don't think I told you this. You haven't. Chris Macy, he was always behind me because his position was, he managed the jib and he was the strong man. And his beautiful wife found him in the shower in the morning, and at 48.
Heart attack or?
Most likely, or an aneurysm still.
Wow.
Yeah, 48. So, I've been, it's interesting. I just woke up this morning, and my bonus sister called and told me that my bonus dad, who's 94, is in the hospital right now. And he had a stroke, and the doctors went in and took out a clot in his brain. So he's in recovery now. He hasn't come to yet. And so if I glance down, it'll be to check the text. She said she would keep me posted. And, you know, when that first came in, I love him so much. And I've had an amazing 15 years with him as a bonus dad. You know, I didn't lose him, but my Chinese dad went on to the other side in 2000 from lymphoma. So he's, you know, stepped in and been more than the unconditional love that my birth father was. So I told James this morning, he's like, "Are you sure you want to do the show?" And you know, it's interesting. This whole year around death, I was in the room when another friend of mine was on life support, and so I was in the room with his niece and those close to him to be there when they unplugged the machines. So it's been one of those really interesting. You know, I haven't been this close to death since 2011 when I was part of this Seal Beach salon shooting. And I guess we are talking about this. We will get to flirting, but I just, you know, I didn't know whether I was going to bring it up or not. But I think the biggest thing is I have really been rethinking death. You know, the whole concept of death, and we'll do another show on this, but I just, instead of calling anybody or texting anybody to tell them, I just went right into meditation and cried, you know, and got comforted by my UPS man, my universal power source, who delivers every time. And instead of praying for my dad to, you know, be not to die or not to, you know, to whatever, you know, usually when someone's sick or something like that happens, you want them to, you know, live forever, right? That kind of sentiment. And while I was meditating and the words, you know, death, the final frontier came into my head, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting, and kept meditating. But, you know, I had that same impulse, drive, inspiration to write. And so I wrote this whole treatise around death that I've been meaning to do, but, you know, so I have, and I'll be publishing it probably on Medium or somewhere. And it's to, you know, re-look at our discomfort around death, really. And that, you know, I'm not praying now the way I used to be praying when someone was dying, which, you know, I've seen plenty of people who are alive, but they're really not alive. And so I just want what's best for Dad. You know, I don't want him in mental or physical anguish. And if that means it's time, then it's time. If it means it's not time, and certainly for my mom's sake, I don't want it to be the time, because they've been married 74 years.
Wow.
You know, so that's the part that, you know, I definitely, and she, I was woken up with the call, and my sister goes, Mom's been pestering me for an hour to call you. So I left it until, you know, 7 instead of 6. But, you know, just to remember, and I'll end with this, the tool that I teach when I do Tai Chi is called the Circle of Life. And sometimes we get unhappy and stuck in our grief because we only remember people in their last minute, in their last month, in their last year, instead of seeing them whole. And I have so many amazing experiences with my dad, from music video to, you know, all the laughter and all the beautiful. So that's what I'm focusing on now. Like, I'm not thinking about him in the hospital in ICU. I'm focusing on, I pulled up a video of from Father's Day and the laughs we shared there. And, you know, I talk to him every day. And so that same thing with my daughter. had her accident and rolled her Jeep 12 times and had a fractured neck and a fractured wrist. And the CHP, not CHP, but New York police called me and said, you know, you're not, I was steadfast in seeing best case scenario. So that's what I'm going to do now, is just see my dad the way that I have experienced him. And, you know, it's really, it's up to what's best for him. I want what's best for him. And that's the change that I have. And I don't know why I'm talking about this, but obviously someone is going to be comforted by my words. And that's, you know, kind of my life and why I do the show for the past 607 consecutive weeks. Welcome to Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. We're just going to finish off our gratitude sandwich with James. What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for these wonderful beach days. Summer was slow to start, and now that it's really hot, it means it's perfect ocean swimming, and that's my moving meditation. So I'm very grateful for that, and I'm really grateful for you and the advice that you know you just shared with how to deal with what you're dealing with. And I just ask everybody that's listening to join you in those wishes for your dad to have peace, grace, and hopefully a speedy recovery, but for whatever is best for him, that he receives that. So I'm going to ask everybody that's listening to share that sentiment, put that good energy out into the world for you and for your whole family.
Thank you so much, James. That's really comforting, and I love that. And maybe we can all just take a deep breath in and release the breath as an energy of love for the doctors who are caring for him, for my bonus sisters and my mom, and just may everybody feel the warmth and love of life and of, you know, heaven here and there. And so it is. All right, let's do this. We're going to be right back. We're going to take a quick 2 and 2 peace in, peace out break for the news and weather. We'll be right back on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa. The morning show, don't go away.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pei.
And welcome back. This is Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA NBC News Radio, home to the Asian Oprah, #1 talk in the IE. Thank you. We are a station that leaves no listener behind. And today, as you can see, we have back in studio my fabulous Thursday co-host on my special series called Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and
James Hawthorn. As I said, great to be back.
Absolutely. And are you still single?
I am.
I'm still single.
Right? Still
yep.
out there.
Yeah. 16 first dates, no second dates, almost had a second date. It was supposed to be Tuesday night, and another one bites the dust. So
I just, I like that because you're not wasting time. Why linger if it's not, if it doesn't tingle, if it's not making you feel good, and time to move on.
Well, yeah, a bad day for the ego is a good day for the soul. So I didn't call it off. He called it off. So it was one of those HD, dating in HD. It's not high definition. It's hope, disappointment, hope, disappointment, hope, disappointment. And it was like, every time, it's almost like I jinx it. Every time I think it's a good, it happened once before in San Diego with the lawyer. And I thought things were going well. And then like weird stuff happens, right? So So it's honestly, it's a crapshoot. I've decided that dating is really like a cross between finding a needle in a haystack and putting a camel through the eye of the needle. It hurts. It hurts.
Yeah, it I mean, I think first dates, dating, you have to keep your ego leave it at the door, because it's just too hard otherwise. And sometimes I think you have to settle for just the experience in and of itself, meaning that sometimes you just want good. It's just nice to have good company, regardless of the outcome. Just focusing on the present and saying, well, I had a nice meal with this person and that was nice. So it's nice in its own right. It's a nice way to spend a couple hours, regardless of what happens. I don't know how else to look at it and still be able to go out and go on another one and another one.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. If I if I'm not gonna have fun, why am I doing it? So
Right.
I have to pep talk myself into this, and really, because it's interesting, the swiping thing. It's like, I understand now why sometimes I will swipe and we'll connect, and then it's like crickets, because depending on where you are in the dating cycle of, like excited, hope, hopeful, anticipation, and then disappointment, and WTF, and why bother, like decaffeinated coffee, and screw this, and and then we go back. And so if you don't catch the other person at the same point, that's not going to happen either, right?
Right. I mean,
So,
I feel like I've heard so many success stories with dating on the apps, but what I hear more often is how much time is spent just trying to even get to the first date. And I really feel like the odds are better when the magic happens and you're able to meet somebody organically out in the wild, whether it's at the grocery store, or when you're doing an activity that you love, or maybe it's somebody on another competing boat when you're standing around the marina. Who knows? I feel like it's speaking of, that's more of a needle in a haystack thing. You have to have great luck, but I believe that sometimes it goes better that way. The dates, the possibility of a second date, third date. Sometimes I think it's higher when you're able to have the good fortune of meeting somebody organically. But that said, you wouldn't have as many dates as you wanted to if you just waited for that. What did we do before dating apps? I mean, how did people do this before? It's like, what did people do before the cell phone? How did people date at all back in the day? The apps definitely give you more opportunities, but I feel like the magic is sometimes greater when you're lucky enough to meet somebody organically out in the wild.
which is why we're doing the topic for today. James is going to teach me, when we're out in the wild, exactly how to show someone subtly, not prostitutionalizing way, that they're interested. And I have to say, this is, again, a shift for women who, in the past, you're not the ones that make the first move. So, the whole, I'm still not that comfortable, even though people will say, oh, come on. You are like one of the most direct, straightforward people, tell it like it is, no beating around the bush person they know. And that's true. And that's true. But when it comes to, if I see a guy that I think is hot out there, I'm like, all of a sudden I'm this very uncomfortable, shy, just not sure of what to do. And then the strong side of me, which is the Leo and 6 planets and what I do in work, right? Doing what I do. Then that comes out. And then if I follow that part of me, it's over for them, because I'm just so direct that it's off-putting. Like if I came up to you and said, I'm sorry, but you're just like very attractive. And are you single? What would you say if you were straight?
I would be flattered by that. I don't find some people have a low threshold for embarrassment, but we're two peas in a pod in terms of being very direct. I would say I'm so flattered and I appreciate your directness. So, I mean, everyone has a different appetite for receiving such a come on or a flirtation. But what you described earlier, your default state is to look away instead of making eye contact to show interest. I'm going to venture to say that's most people's default, and it's mine too. And so I have to like consciously say, darn it, James, if that is what you want, then go out and get it. And that first look, it all starts with that first look, especially when you're meeting people in the wild and you haven't established a mutual like via an app. My strategy, and I don't know if this even is the best way or if it works, but when I've had success, it's when I can summon up the courage to look at somebody and hold that gaze until I get eye contact back. And then in the way when they clock that I'm looking at them, and when I'm looking at them, it's it's with a smile. It's not a creepy stare. I'm not fixating on it. It's just pleasantly watching somebody and go, I like the way that they carry themselves. I like the way that they look. And if you're having those thoughts and you're just observing somebody and then they catch your eyes, what you gather once they catch their eyes, or I'm sorry, once they catch your eyes, they have a moment and they decide how they feel about you looking at them. And if you get a smile back, I think you're in for the approach where you could just literally walk up and be like, hey, I'm James and I, really like your outfit, or hey, I really like the way you carry yourself. You just have all this positive energy. Whatever the thing is that caught your eye, unless it's something that, you might not want to say in public. Like, I noticed from really far away that you have a very big package. You can't really say that if that's what caught your eye. So you better find something else.
Yeah, but when you do say stuff like that, doesn't it sound like you want to, test out friend with benefits, or have a quick roll in the hay, or poke in the whatever the expressions are, like hang out is the last one from the youngins.
Not necessarily, because if you just look at somebody, with a pleasant smile, like you could be admiring something about them that is not necessarily physical or sexual. You literally could be just admiring the way that they interact with others. If they're with a group of friends and they seem like they have the most positive energy or whatever it is, or if they have a really nice smile. I mean, just stuff like that are things that just make somebody pleasant to be around. And so I think depending on what you say, and since this is about eye contact, the way you look, you can look at somebody lustfully, which can come off kind of creepy if you don't know them. So I think if you look at somebody just pleasantly with a smile, just enjoying the way that they do their thing, I don't think it necessarily communicates that you're wanting to have a romp in the sheets with them.
Right. Never mind. I'm thinking of all the terms that I'm so out of touch with all that.
I'll tell you a wild.
Yeah, tell me one.
This goes exactly against what I just said, but it's funny little story. So my roommate just moved to New York to go pursue theater, and his mom was in town to help him kind of pack up and was staying with us, and she really wanted to go out to West Hollywood. She wanted to see like a drag show or something. Well, we didn't find a drag show, but we did go to, the Abbey and the Chapel, which is just iconic. It's where you're going to go, you're going to get a real flavor for the West Hollywood culture. And when we walked in, and this was funny because my roommate, Chris, is straight. We also went with my neighbor, who's a mutual friend. He's straight. As soon as we walk in, like the most beautiful guy, maybe in West Hollywood. His huge Instagram following as well. I'm not going to call him out and say his name, but I saw him, and he clocked that I recognized him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I recognize him too." But we hadn't chatted in person in maybe 6 or 7 years. I remember I ran into him in a coffee shop, and I just very forward said, "Hey, I'm James. I think you are incredibly attractive. I'd love to hang out sometime." So I was very forward with that. I used my words, not even my eye contact, because there wasn't time. He would have gotten his coffee and left. So I had to use my words. And I guess he remembered me because he looked at me like, "Oh yeah, I know you too." So I just walked over, said, "Hey, good to see you, Lucas. How you doing?" I've made up a name.
Oh, I was just going to go look because I want to look now. I mean, is it helpful for you?
I'll show
to
you
know?
offline. I have to protect the identities of the innocent, or in this case, the not so innocent, because as soon as I walk over, he says, "Hey, handsome," and he gives me a big hug, puts his arms around me, and plants a big kiss on my lips. Now, I think he had been drinking a little bit, but he was out with not a lot. He wasn't like staggering around or anything, but he was having a good time. And so he just kissed me, and I'm like, whoa. I was, of course, flattered because I think he's absolutely gorgeous. And so there we are in the middle of the chapel, and like lightly like making out. And my friends look at me like, "You got to be kidding me. Like, who is this guy?" Like, they're looking at me like he goes in there and immediately, because they didn't hear what the conversation was, he immediately goes in there and starts making out with the hottest guy in the place. And I'm like, guys, it doesn't go like that. This is not my life. Nothing like that has actually ever happened to me. So then my roommate's mom, who's a character and a half, she's giving this guy the lustful eyes. She's looking at him like, "I want to take a bite out of you." So she comes up and she's like, "Hi," and he gives her this late 60s.
He gives her a kiss.
Well, this woman in her late 60s, mostly gray hair. He just wraps his says, "Oh, you're sweet," wraps his arms around her, and she looks like she's ready to make a snack out of him. So she didn't want me to get all the action. What a crazy first 2 minutes.
Did he kiss her the same way he kissed you?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just checking to see how drunk he was.
Oh, yeah, no.
Okay,
no,
so
he
so
was
that
speaking
was
very coherently. He was speaking very coherently.
Okay.
It just looked like he, was loose and had a couple. It was, having a good time.
No inhibition.
And even his friends were looking at him like, "You don't normally do that." So I was very flattered. I was reading their eye contact regarding his behavior, and I was like, "Oh, he thinks I'm attractive. He likes me. Sweet." So, there was a lot of stuff happening from eye contact. And when he looked at me like, "Yeah, I know you too," and then he kept eye contact, that was emboldening to me to then go walk up and interrupt him. And, because he was looking at me, but someone was talking to him. And I said, well, he acknowledged me and he kept looking. So I'm going to walk right up. So, when it comes to eye contact, him holding that gaze emboldened me. So similarly, I think if you see somebody you like and you hold that gaze until they acknowledge it back, and then if they don't look away and they keep it, I think that's emboldening to continue the flirtation in whatever form that might take. Whether it's continuing to share glances or to walk up and speak and say hello. So there's so much to be gleaned from that. And if our natural inclination is to look away, the other person can see that and feel like that's a rejection, even if it's just another person's natural shyness. So, sometimes I think it's important to overcome our default state and remember what it is that we want.
But when someone is staring at you and you don't want that attention and it's creepy.
Oh, yeah.
Then what? You have to look away. Or
yes.
If I'm in a mood, I'll just stare back and do this. Like,
yeah, like what?
No.
What is
yeah.
it? Like, why are you staring
at me? Not it like no.
Yeah. There's two ways to reject in advance. One is to just avoid contact, and sometimes it is a rejection for sure. And then the other way is to be like, what are you looking at? Like, in other words, let them know that not only do I not like you staring at me, I don't like the way you're staring at me. Because, I have people do that too. And if they're looking at me it's so easy for me anyway, to know when someone's looking at me in a lustful way. And this guy was just looking at me in a, I know you, and I'm glad to see you, like, kind of way. It was a pleasant, oh, look who just walked in. It wasn't a, look who just walked in, I'm going to make a snack out of you. It wasn't that. So I was very surprised when he planted a kiss on me because I didn't think it was going to go there.
Okay, so finish the story.
Well, I mean, we were there to celebrate my roommate and to celebrate, but I made sure that I got his number, said, what's your number? And he said, oh, okay, great. He says, yeah, I'll give it to you. I said, I think I've chatted with you on Instagram before, but never heard anything back. Just reminding him that, hey, I did make an effort to reach out to you after we met. And he's like, oh, well, Instagram's for the public. Take my number. Definitely take my number. That's for, it's for personal connection. And I said, okay. So got the number, chatted a little bit. He was traveling. I was traveling. We'll see. But that, we'll see. We'll see. I have some reservations just because.
Really?
Well, yeah, because he's got he's what you would call Insta famous, I suppose. So, he's got a very huge following, and I just want to make sure, that he's got a good head on his shoulders and he's not all about ego. I've noticed that a lot of people that make their living, so to speak, just because of social media notoriety, don't always have a level head on their shoulders. And that's important to me for dating. But that said, even if it doesn't work out for dating, sometimes fun is fun. It's nice to, like I said, it's just nice to go on a date, even if it doesn't lead to what I ultimately want, which is to find a partner in life. But fun along the way is, well, fun. And sometimes a date is good company for a few hours. So I'm okay with that. I have to be okay with that. Otherwise, I would have quit dating a long time ago.
Right. Go find that desert island to live up by yourself and happy.
Yeah, and go get 5 dogs instead of 1, and just take care of a whole pack of dogs instead.
All right, if you've just tuned in, you're wondering what's going on in studio. I'm reconnecting with my co-host for Thursdays on Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and
James Hawthorn.
And guess what we are talking about? Martin's here. Welcome, Martin. Fun is fun. That is absolutely right. Life is too short not to have fun, because you just never know when that dash is going to be over. So we're talking about relationships and how to get into a relationship of some kind. The topic is flirting. James is living his life out loud to our amusement, which is kind of what I do for the last 671 consecutive weeks. This is show number 1209. We're going to take a quick break for news and weather. We'll be right back with more flirting and James's tutelage of my ability to flirt and get dates in the wild again. We'll be right back. Don't go away. We'll be back in Peace In and Peace Out.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pei.
And welcome back. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa. The morning show here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, and YouTube TV channel, where you can get all the topics and guests that I've had. If you free subscribe, you get an alert in the morning. This is AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, and as I mentioned, the YouTube TV channel, where you can not only get all the past 1,200 and whatever we're on shows, you can also get my red carpet playlist with interviews with Halle Berry, John Travolta, and more. So welcome you to do that. We're talking about relationships always on this particular day because we're going into the weekend. If you haven't got a date already, if you don't want to have a date, if you want to know how to get a date, this is where we talk about and put the moose on the table, which is my American version of talking about the elephant in the room. Things to deal with.
More Canadian rather than American, with the moose. But then again, I did see moose out in Colorado in that commercial shoot.
Well, elephant, talking about the elephant in the room is an American expression.
That's
so
true.
You know how I have to change everything, right? Because I love to play with words. That's why the moose is on the table.
I know. I'm just teasing you about moose being more Canadian. After all, the only elephants in America are in the zoo. So, it's sorry.
Okay,
So,
whatever. We're talking about flirting, and I've been like not complaining because I run the 21-day fast from complaining with Dr. Marissa online. But my swiping has resulted in 16 first dates, no second dates. And so James is suggesting that I go back out into the wild to date and how to show your interest with flirting. And the first point was eye contact, right?
Yes, and not necessarily, you can look at somebody and make eye contact, make it clear that you're into them without doing it in a creepy way. And a lot of times, you think of in straight dating relationships, men creeping out on women by maybe being too forward. But I don't think eye contact in and of itself is necessarily being very forward. It depends what thoughts are going on in your head as you're looking at somebody. I mean, as an actor, I can tell you that when you do auditions and things, the camera picks up everything. And our subconscious, when you're looking into somebody's eyes, picks up everything too. So that's why when you're listening, when you're doing an audition, for example, a lot of coaches say, think the thoughts, like actually have real thoughts in your head. Like, don't be thinking about what your next line is going to be reacting to the other person and actually have those thoughts, because that's what the camera picks up and that's what makes it a real life. So similarly in dating, if there's something that you like about somebody and find, pleasant, actually have those thoughts. And then it's not like if you're thinking about what they look like naked, then that's going to read in your eyes, and the other person, because you haven't even talked to them yet, might be creeped out. But if you just like their energy, or you find something that's maybe not necessarily physically sexual, then I think that you can really go a long way with eye contact. And I shared that personal encounter of what happened outside the Abbey Chapel, leaving my friends going like, who is this guy? But I think the key to success is to put yourself in a target-rich environment. So for me, maybe I bring my laptop and go work at a popular coffee shop in West Hollywood, where there's a lot of flow of people that many of which are probably gay, and that puts me in front of a lot of folks. Or go work at a cafe and sit outside, and as people walk by, and people come in to dine, you're increasing your chances of making a genuine connection. Gives you a shot. All
right, I'll consider it. I don't have time, but that's okay. That's my whole problem, is I don't have the time, anyways. We have some great comments and questions in the chat. I want to go right there. Martin is here in the cashew gallery. Flirting, oy vey, being married. I love it when I think someone is flirting on me. Okay, I don't know if your partner likes that, but all right. And is teasing the same as flirting? I would say teasing is a way of flirting, as long as you don't take it too far.
Yeah, it's a subcategory.
Private joke there. But I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, teasing's one type of flirting, but flirting doesn't have to be teasing. When it comes to eye contact, which is the focus of today's topic when it comes to flirting, I think that eye contact can be used, I think, on a date to tease. So let's say you're on a date and you're having some fun with somebody. You can tease a lot with your eyes and with the thoughts that you're thinking. And, if you're playing with somebody a little bit, messing with them, as long as you're doing it in a friendly way, I think that the eyes on a date say a lot too. So when it comes to eye contact, let's say that you've made that initial connection from stranger to connection. You've exchanged numbers, or Instagrams, which is a common thing now, a way to, then you can go stalk the person and make sure that you actually do want to go on a date with them, right? And then you're on that date. Eye contact is very important, right? But not too much. Because if you're staring at them the whole time, that can be a little obsessive. But if you're constantly like looking away, or let's say you're at a restaurant and, the TV keeps catching your eyes, or other people in the restaurant are catching your eyes, that is just a really good way to make the other person feel unimportant, reject them. Or let's say you're not having a good date, but you don't want to be rude and walk out after the first course. That could be a subtle tool used to maybe suggest that you're not as into this person as you had hoped. And it's a way to kind of let them off easy without having to say, this isn't working. Here's some money for the appetizer. See you later, which is just really rude. Even if that's how you feel, I think there's ways to subtly hint that there's probably not going to be a second date using a lack of eye contact.
What do you mean? You mean going to the bathroom and slipping out the back door and not coming back? There's a problem with that?
Right? I mean, obviously, that's not what you want to do unless the person's a total
I've
creep,
done it.
But...
I'm sorry. I'll admit to it. I've done it because for me, just confronting, I don't confront. Well, I don't like it. Sometimes I break that rule and I'm very straight, but most of the time, and I want to take this opportunity to say that one of the reasons why I am not a good dater is I take things too personally. I'll come right out and say it. And I've learned that about myself. I don't like that because I teach that, it's, what you think of me is none of my business and it's not about you and all of that. But I realize, and I'm having compassion for myself, that, the way that I was hurt as a kid makes me super sensitive and makes me super susceptible to taking things personally. And I either get a hold of this or I stop dating, because my whole thing is, if you, like, the beginning is the biggest time. If you can't show me that you want to get to know me by, setting up a date, giving me a phone number, making the plans to back up your words of you're beautiful or you're so interesting and I'd love to get to know you, and then there's no follow-up, like, that's like, no, if you can't do that first impression, why would I spend time making time for you? And I've had several really want to go out and really want, and then boom, I'm gonna have to postpone, or what day are you available next week? And it's like, are you forking kidding me? I have turned down 2 things already just to meet you, and I know you're gonna take me out for dinner, but still, I could buy my own dinner, and this is a first impression, right? And then they're like, well, and it's like, wow, I have to separate out that, if a person's flaky, that's got nothing to do with me. It just tells me I don't want a flaky person. But it's hard not to get a flaky person on this coast. I have to say, it's a stereotype, but it's true. I've never met more people who don't treat a commitment as a commitment. And I'm East Coast, right? I know 6 months from now exactly what I'm doing. And because I have 8 jobs, those are, pretty in there. Flexibility is not in my vocabulary. Spontaneity is sort of making its way in. But, I have to stop taking it personally, or I should just stop the activity, because that it bothers me.
Yeah,
and
no,
when it bothers me.
I think you already identified one strategy for that their flakiness is not necessarily a reflection on you. They might be doing that with, a lot of people that they're considering dating. That might be, their MO. And I think that's one thing. And then the other thing is they might be dating just because they're bored and it's just something that's entertaining for them to do, where you're sincerely and seriously looking to date to find a partner. And so, you know, the means to the end, right? They might be just looking to pass time and maybe get laid. You are looking to find a partner. And people, I think, treat commitments and date, and they shouldn't, but they treat commitments and the act of dating differently. And that's truly not necessarily on them or on you. It's that compatibility thing. And I think that dating and chemistry and whether people work, it is that magical space in between, and all the atoms and things have to work in that in between space. And I think if we can really own that, it makes it easier to not necessarily take it personally. And then also, of course, and this is tough because we have goals. I ultimately want to find a partner through dating, but by not being attached to that outcome, it's good to have a goal, but to not be attached to it. I can enjoy the process and not be too flustered by other people's flakiness. Or even if someone else says, hey, I'm not feeling it, I can go, okay, it could be me, or it could just be they weren't feeling that in between space. Because I've certainly been in that position where I look at it and I say, look, on paper, you're great. Like if I were to describe you to my friends, I would use nothing but flattering terms. Yet I'm not feeling what I need to feel inside. And that's not your fault or mine. It just is. So I've been in that position. And so I have to allow other people to have that experience as well. And then the strength to not take it as an ego hit.
Yeah. And this is, you know, the most annoying thing in my life is that I teach this stuff. That is so annoying. That's why the name of the show is Take My Advice. I'm not using it. And welcome to the show. If you've just tuned in, you can get this whole show by going to my YouTube TV channel, free subscribe. But we've been talking about dating and flirting and my frustrations in the whole process because it's my show. And but I really need to take my own advice. It's just not a match, is what I tell people all the time. If something doesn't work out, it's just not a match. And every time, if I go to my law of attraction training, it's every time you don't like something, you know what you do want. So I've established the fact, please, UPS man, I don't need any more reminders that I would like a non-flaky person. So you don't need to send me any more not flaky people. I get that. I know that. I don't need one more flaky person. But I also do need to, you know, really embody what I teach, which is if someone's on a different cycle than you, and they're like, now it totally makes sense. I was on the phone with this guy on paper. He looked fabulous. And he had, you know, swiped me first, and we matched. And he was just like, so like, yeah, we'll see. You know, he was like, so he sounded like me now, right? And I'm like, what? But hey, our timing was off. And, you know, maybe I'll see him at a club and we'll recognize each other and he'll plant one on me there. And it really is. I mean, I have to realize, one, it takes way more than one date to know if this is someone to be a lifetime partner. And maybe I should take off that's what I want. Maybe, because honestly, the more I participate in this activity called dating, the more I'm wondering if I don't think I could handle a full-on relationship. I'm so grounded in the love for my work and what I do that maybe a long distance is the way to go. You know, someone who, you know, we do one weekend a month. I don't know. Yeah, but guess what? We're almost out of time. I want you to do the final word.
I will. But first I want to say that my mom adopts that approach. She's one and done. She was married to my dad for 25 years. She enjoys the company, you know, and dates. And for her, she just knows that she is fully fulfilled by her career, her friends, the activities she does. And, you know, she loves the people in her life, but she's not it just doesn't feel right for her to go in and do that again. And there's nothing wrong with that. And you are a very, driven person. And when you're when you're goal driven and goal oriented like that, oh, it's going to be so frustrating when the dating doesn't work out the way that you want. So by releasing attachment to that outcome, I think it makes it more enjoyable and less frustrating, I think. So I think that would be helpful. And my last advice, my last word is when it comes to eye contact, never stop looking. So even when you're in a relationship, to go to part 3, people complain, he never notices anything about me. I've got this new dress, I got the hair. Never stop looking, because always look at someone that you are in love with and have known forever with a sense of novelty, because there's so much that makes a person and so much that it takes to keep love alive. Never stop looking, whether it's that first connection before you've said hello or whether you've been married for 25 years. So that's my last word of advice.
Thank you, James. It's been great as usual. Join me as I sign out. It's all about balance. Peace in, peace out. World peace through inner peace. Tomorrow is the Hollywood Rebel Report with Ricky Rebel. We're going to be talking about who knows what, and it's going to be great, as it is always on Thursday with James. Thanks for joining us. Please do free subscribe on my YouTube TV channel to get the entire of this show and more. Now go and have the best day ever. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, James.
Bye, everybody.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pei.